Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was The Suicide Squad, making $7.4 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $42 million and its worldwide total to $118 million. So, obviously, this movie took a massive hit this weekend. It fell 71%, a bigger drop off than both Black Widow and Space Jam. This is actually nearly on par with the second week hold for Mortal Kombat from earlier this, and if you remember how that movie did, it was not the best. Obviously, this is very unfortunate given that the movie is very good, and this is something you definitely do not want to see for not only a superhero comic book movie, but also if your superhero comic book movie cost $185 million. This is very unfortunate. It's looking to do a lot better internationally, but even that's not saying much. Many, of course, have questioned why this movie dropped so fast, and the most biggest and probably even the most obvious answer I've seen is the day and date streaming theatrical release. It was both in theaters and on HBO Max the same day, and I think we're starting to see the cracks in the streaming's theatrical hybrid release strategy, where earlier this year with films like Godzilla vs. Kong and like Tom and Jerry and Ryan the Last Dragon, you could see where it could have worked. These movies definitely did well both theatrically and on streaming, but now since everyone's more comfortable with this, more people are just not showing up to these movies on their second weekend. We started to see that with Black Widow, and it became more apparent with Space Jam, and it's even becoming more so with The Suicide Squad. And I think Warner Brothers is definitely not going to continue forward in the coming years with it, as they've struck a deal with many theaters, including AMC, to stick with a 45 theatrical window day release for 2022. But yeah, sadly, it's looking like this film is on its way out, and that's unfortunate because if you haven't seen my review, I loved it. I thought it was amazing, and given with all the positive feedback and massive critical acclaim the movie has been getting, I think the film will definitely garner a cult following that supports it thoroughly, given how many people loved it and enjoyed it. And let's hope that the HBO Max numbers are much better than the theatrical numbers, since I guarantee you more people are seeing it at home than in the theater. But unfortunately, it's looking like this film is not going to bring in the magic that other Suicide Squad film did 4 years ago, which is a shame, but oh well, what can you do? Number 4 is Respect, which made $8.8 million on its opening weekend domestically, and there are currently no international totals at the moment, so it's still currently standing at $8.8 million worldwide. So while the film came in a little under my expectations, I thought it could maybe get to $10 million at the least, but it didn't manage to do that. I'm honestly not that surprised with how this film turned out. Reviews were, to put in light terms, lukewarm, and I didn't really see anyone I know personally all that excited or really talking about this film. There wasn't a whole lot of buzz around the film. So I wasn't really expecting this movie to blow up or just become the next big thing, and that's what happened. It made a moderate amount of money right now. Now, the big kicker for this film, unfortunately, is the budget. It cost a whopping $55 million to make. Now, unless if international numbers come out very soon and actually help this movie raise that sort of money, it's definitely going to struggle getting to that budget. We'll see how word of mouth is on the film. We'll see if it has strong hold, because this film is a theatrical release only sort of movie. It's only being released in theaters, and then I'm pretty sure like a couple months it'll be released on demand and digital. But for right now, you can only see it at the theater, so we'll see if the movie can manage to pick up some steam. But right now, it's starting off a little slow for respect. Number 3 is Jungle Cruise, making 9.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 82 million and a worldwide total of 154 million. So this movie continues to be dominating the box office this weekend. It just fell 42% this weekend, which is a pretty impressive hold, and this now puts it about 3 million behind Cruella's domestic total, and I'm sure it'll surpass that. And if it manages to keep doing as well as it has been for the past several weeks, I think it can become the 5th film post-pandemic and this year to cross 100 million domestic behind Godzilla vs. Kong, Quiet Place Part 2, F9, The Fast Saga, and Black Widow. And as for the worldwide totals, this film is now just about 45 million away from its initial $200 million budget. And for a movie like that right now, that's kind of impressive, especially for this movie, which has been just crushing it at the box office, even though I'm sure we would have all loved it if it made a little bit more, maybe even doubled it. Making 200 million worldwide and crossing that budget alone is pretty impressive, and I know that pretty much everyone is satisfied with how this movie is doing. The Rock is definitely happy. I think Emily Blunt is happy, and I know Disney is happy with how this movie is doing right now, because there have been reports of a sequel in discussion, so of course that's good signs with how this movie is doing. So all in all, not a bad weekend for Jungle Cruise indeed. Let's hope it can continue this streak of success, as this is one of the biggest surprises of the box office to be sure of. And let's hope for this success to continue as the movie continues its theatrical release. Number 2 is, ironically enough, Don't Breathe 2, which opened to 10.6 million domestically on its opening weekend and is sitting at 14 million worldwide. So this opening is well below the very surprising opening weekend of the predecessor from 4 years ago. There was a lot of speculation about how this movie was going to do. Reviews were very mixed, but from what the majority of I've seen, it was a lot more negative, and there was a lot of controversy over turning the blind man essentially into an anti-hero in the sequel when he did a lot of bad things that I probably should not discuss on a box office show. So yeah, it's looking like this movie's not going to be as groundbreaking or as huge as the predecessor was 4 years ago, but once again, like pretty much like every horror movie I've talked about since 4th of July weekend, the budget is not a high one. They did not balloon the budget. It only cost 15 million to make, and seeing how they've pretty much made a majority of that already guarantees that this movie is going to be financially successful. So whether how you look at it or you hated the movie, thought it paled in comparison to the first one, it's going to make money. It'll be interesting to see how the drop-off is, considering that this is another theatrical-only release. So we'll see how well this movie does week to week, but as far as I know, for now, the movie is probably going to be safe financially. Again, it's a relatively cheap movie, and because it already made a majority of its budget back, it's probably going to be able to double that. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was Free Guy, opening to $28 million this weekend domestically and is sitting at 50 million worldwide. So this film came in way over many people's expectations. Many analysts were expecting this film to come in at the high teens, maybe 17 million at most, but the fact that it was able to make nearly 30 million this weekend is insane. I'm very happy about this, since if you haven't seen my review for the film, I really enjoyed it. Reviews were great. People called it the biggest surprise of the year, and the marketing was genius. Not Deadpool standards, but it was still really funny with, again, the Deadpool Korg trailer reaction video, the Dude video, and all the short promos stating when the film was delayed and the new release date was all great. I think they did a really good job with the marketing. The fact that it was also an original film and it made this type of money is also very impressive as well. Now, while the budget is hefty, it isn't as bloated or extremely big as some of these other blockbuster films. It cost around 100 to 125 million, and while that does seem like it's going to have a long way to go to get to that initial budget, starting off with 50 million worldwide is not a bad start, so I definitely think it can get there. And considering that there is really not a lot of competition for this film to face off at the moment, I think that it has a chance of staying around for quite some time. We'll see how the drop off is for next weekend, but from what I've seen and heard, people are enjoying the film, and word of mouth is very good for this film. I think it had a really short drop off of just like 2% from Friday to Saturday, so that's really good. But yeah, things are looking pretty good for Free Guy. I know Ryan Reynolds is very happy. He has expressed a lot of thanks and gratitude for making this film as successful as it was this weekend. And according to himself, he stated that even Disney is very happy with how this movie is doing, so much so that just 2 days after the release of the film, they are considering discussions on a sequel, which I am curious to see how it goes if it gets greenlit. But considering how quick they jumped on the sequel discussion, shows how successful and how much of a big deal this movie's domestic total right now is doing. So far, it's looking pretty good for Free Guy, and I look forward to seeing how well it does in the remaining days that it has in the theatrical window. So good job, Free Guy. You surprised us all at the box office this weekend. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And while it is a crowded weekend, we've got 4 new releases hitting theaters. Outside of maybe one movie, I'm not sure if any of these movies are going to, well, not do spectacularly, but even do modest at best. First up is The Night House. This is the newest horror film starring Rebecca Hall. This film has been critically praised by pretty much everyone who has seen it. Some people called it the best horror film of the year, but I gotta be honest, I have seen minimal advertising for this movie. Outside of a poster and a couple of Instagram ads, I've seen nothing, so that pretty much tells you how well I think this movie is gonna do, unfortunately. Same thing can be said about Reminiscence, this drama thriller from the co-creator of Westworld. They've been promoting it. It's a Warner Brothers film, so they've been promoting it extensively. I've seen tons of ads for it, but still no buzz. I barely know a single person who has been talking about it or really excited to see this film. And once again, it's another Warner Brothers film, so of course it'll be doing a theatrical and streaming release. It'll be on HBO Max the same day, so that's obviously going to have an effect on this film's box office, so we'll see how this movie does. Then there's The Protege, the newest action film from Lionsgate. They are clearly trying to set up a new John Wick type franchise for themselves to capitalize on. And while yeah, they have been promoting this and advertising this like crazy, I've seen numerous ads for it, I'm not seeing a lot of buzz around the film. I don't know too many people who are talking about this film, let alone excited about it, so it does make me question how well this movie will do. I don't think it's going to be as big as a draw in as Lionsgate thinks it has to be, judging from the advertising, so I don't really know. But then again, John Wick did start off a bit slow box office wise, and that's now become one of the most biggest celebrated film franchises of the decade, so anything is possible. So we'll see how this movie does. And then lastly, there is Paw Patrol the movie. Yes, I think this is the one out of the four new films hitting theaters. I think this is the one that will do the best for a couple reasons. One, it's an animated kids film, so that obviously gives it a leg up against all these dark, mature films. And at the time of this recording, right now, this is the only animated kids film that will be released between now and October 1st when The Addams Family 2 comes out that will be given somewhat of a theatrical release, given that Clifford the Big Red Dog has been pushed back indefinitely and Hotel Transylvania Transformania will now be moving to Amazon Prime, so I think it will have some strong legs there. The marketing has been good. They've been promoting it extensively, and since it is Paw Patrol, there is numerous toys, a video game, and thousands upon thousands of tie-ins that I do not want to get into right now. And surprisingly, the reviews are really good. Even though there are only 12 reviews right now, the film stands at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is insane. There are downsides to this. Obviously, first off, it's coming out in late August, and that's a time where most kids will be heading back to school, so we'll see how that affects the film's box office. This is also a first for Paramount, as this will also be doing a day and date release. It will be releasing in theaters and also streaming on Paramount Plus for free, so that's obviously going to affect the box office in some way. And surprisingly enough, it's not showing at any Regal theaters as far as I know. I checked the website and they're not listing the movie anywhere, so that's strange. This could be another Riot and the Last Dragon where it's not playing at that theater for a specific reason. I do not know why. Maybe they have something against the film. But we will see how this movie, as well as many of the other movies released this weekend, truly do next week on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all of the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.